Hello, welcome to the Pivot Ability Show. Today we've got my friend Carl Dumesle. He was one of the people that I met at my very first mastermind. I think we clicked on according to me, we clicked on the very first day.
Yeah, we did.
He has he has a really, I would say, a multicultural background for sure, and a great story. And I'm excited to have him share it with us. So, Carl, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And most people botch my last name on the first try. So either have been practicing or you're really good.
I've heard it a few times. Anything that you put out, I'm like instantly watching and listening because I don't
Thank
know. I'm
you.
I'm a fan. I like what you do.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Well, I'm just happy I'm able to pay back a little bit of that.
Yeah, of course. So, let's start with the fact that you were born in Haiti, raised there. Like I've heard two of the like podcasts where you share like completely different life experiences on both,
Hmm.
and I'm just like, man, one was not enough. Like Homeboy's got stories for days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which actually, I should let you talk soon, but what I find fascinating. So I have this questionnaire that I send to the guests whenever they're booking the recording.
Hmm.
And one of the first questions is what is something that is unique or ordinary about you? And you were like, nothing. I have nothing unique or ordinary. And I was like, I cannot believe you're saying this right now. You have one of the most inspiring and like different stories from anyone that I've ever met. And then you're like,
Thank you.
I'm not unique. I'm not unordinary.
No, but that's like genuinely how I feel or don't feel,
Right.
Like I'm just going through my own life, and I think that a lot of people have stories that are just untold, Like
Mm.
really I think that if in a perfect world you were to hear everybody's stories, mine would not feel special. Cuz a lot of people just go through things and don't share them. It's hard to share. It's hard to relive those things. It's hard for me sometimes too to tell the stories. But really, like from the stuff I've heard, if you really just listen to a lot of people and who are willing to share, nobody's stories would feel like super special unless it was like extreme. We would all basically average out to just have compassion for each other and realize that we're all going through our own things.
Oh yeah, no, we definitely all are. But I think maybe like given my circle or my like, my culture that I've grown up with, your story is just very different from any ones that I know, right? And I think it also really speaks, which I it's something else that I find impressive. It speaks to your humility. You're just like, I'm just living life, one step at a time, moving forward. So yeah, I guess walk us through the life of Carl.
All right, I'll start from the beginning. So as you mentioned, I was born in Haiti. I was also raised there. I'm the eldest of four brothers. My mom always wanted a daughter, but got didn't get too lucky and ended up with us. But we were all born in Haiti. My parents were also both from Haiti. Didn't have much growing up. They're both, I think, the youngest of their respective families. Dad's the youngest of nine, and my mom's the youngest of eight, I
Big
believe.
families.
Yeah, yeah. That's how we did back then. Not much more to do.
You're like, and I want 10
Yeah.
myself.
No. I'm cutting that in like a third, three max. But yeah, so we were born there, born to our parents. I'm proud of them because they've come up in life quite a bit from where they come from. So they both went to school, both got their undergrads, both got jobs after and built their lives. My dad is in the tech industry, mostly
Hmm,
network engineering. He
okay.
was part of the founding team of a lot of the big sort of network setups in Haiti, like connecting banks to each other or connecting the government offices, etc. And my mom, she worked at a few companies, but the major break she had was at Nestle. So she studied business. She started there, I don't even know, like the bottom of the ladder, like secretary or something like that. And she rose to later lead the company. So she was basically country representative for Nestle in Haiti, which is
Wow.
basically like responsible for the entire market, right?
Yeah, wow.
Over the span of, I think, 10 years or so, 8 to 10 years or so. So I'm pretty proud of her, for that.
Yeah.
But what I did see growing up is that despite doing well and, growing in their careers, they each started a business. At the time, it wasn't something I was thinking about, but in retrospect, I thought, well, if they were doing so well and, they were rising in the ranks, why did they always have their own thing on the side? you know and then I just realized that I started paying attention to that a lot. So I was always getting in trouble, like have a little business in school, I used to buy and trade trading cards for different games like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh or something. I used to sell games in school, cell phones, all that stuff. They were pretty I didn't know at the time, but they were pretty successful little businesses.
Pretty successful endeavors.
Yeah, yeah, because I had basically a monopoly on a lot of that stuff, in school. People would just come to me for that. I had an assistant because I was selling so much. It was crazy, just naturally seeing what my parents did.
Yeah. What was the youngest endeavor you did, like entrepreneurial endeavor?
I was 12 when I
Okay.
started did that.
How are you getting your hands on phones? Like, how are you paying for them? That's my main question.
Okay, so I didn't. So here's what happened, and I don't even know how I figured all this out, but I was fortunate enough to have a computer, right? It wasn't anything fancy, just like a old Dell laptop that my dad wasn't using. And I had internet at home and I had power at home. So those three things are luxuries, right? Where I'm from or were at the time, still are today. So, and especially when I'm 12 years old, right? And at the time, a lot of smart semi smartphones are coming out, like Sony Ericsson's and a few things like that, Motorola's, and you could download games on them. Right? So you could go on a website, download a game, and it would install on your phone. But then I just wanted to download games faster, right? Because I was gaming a lot on my phone, and I thought, well, if I use my computer, I bet I can do this faster. I was right, so I just went on my computer and downloaded a bunch of games, and then I transferred them to my phone, and then I would install them. But what I realized is that you'll understand why this is special. After I transferred the games to my phone, the files would stay there. I could install them, but it wouldn't delete the files. And then I could send that same game via Bluetooth or infrared, if you're old enough to remember that,
Mhm.
to another phone. But
Okay.
when it got to that other phone, it installed and didn't keep the file. So what I started realizing is I can have a supply of games because a lot of people don't have internet,
Right.
right? They have phones, but they don't have a computer. They don't have power at home.
Mhm.
So they can literally get the games that they would want from the internet from me because I have it stored on my phone,
Yeah.
right? And they don't have it stored on their phone even when I send it to them. And
Yeah.
then I thought, well, I'm just going to charge for that. So I just started charging for downloading games and sending games over to people and installing them. But the good thing is, and I didn't even know what was happening, it's like games get old. So you always want a new game, especially at the time where like games were really short. So you would have people just gaming all day and buying another game the next day and the
Mhm.
next day and buying two or three, to go through the weekend until Monday. And then I would just have a supply of games coming in, and then I would delete some games that people wanted, right? Just to like create the scarcity and
Yeah.
then bring a fresh new batch the following week. Right. I just like did a lot of stuff that you would think are strategy, but it was just natural. And then I had this system. I had the tools, the resources, but really the system of selling games in school that nobody had,
Yeah.
right? And then I sold so much, it was like literally every recess from beginning to end. I couldn't even eat. It's just like a line out in front of me. It was really, really insane to the point where I bought a second phone so that a friend of mine could help me distribute the games. Yeah, exactly. Right? So I'm paying him commissions and every game sold. And then there was one guy who figured out how I did it.
Wait, so hold on.
Yeah.
Did both phones have the same games, or did each phone have a different like set of games? So then,
So it was pretty similar.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty similar. But then one guy
figured it
figured
out.
out how I did it. I don't know if
Oh
he
no.
instinctively did or just happenstance, kind of like me.
Uh-huh.
And then I was so pissed because he started selling games too. And I was like, no, that's not going to happen. So I slashed all my prices in half and then just push him out. It was terrible. I'm telling you. But that was like at 12 years old. I had zero idea what I was doing, but
You seem to have had a really good idea of what you
yeah,
were doing.
yeah. I owned that market. That was a lot of fun.
Wow.
And
How long
yeah.
did you do that for? And also, did it cost you to download these games?
No, no, it did not. So that's the beauty of it. They were free online and I sold them. It was insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Really
insane.
capitalizing on the fact that you had energy and internet.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And resources, you know?
Mhm.
which are concepts now that I understand, but at the time it was just I'm selling games by lunch, you know.
Yeah.
But it was good, and I did the same thing. I did that for a year, year and a half. Then technology started improving. People were getting PSPs, PlayStation Portables. So I guess I was smart. So I sold the phones that I had, stopped the game business, and then bought a PSP, and then I rented it during recess for like per the minute. It was like a few dollars for 10-minute place. Yeah. So I dropped the other. I wasn't attached to it. I changed with the times, bought a PSP, had FIFA on it, and then charged people for using it. Basically, I never even really used it,
I would have
but
loved to know you when I
yeah,
was a
I
kid. I could also
yeah,
imagine myself being really like, to be completely frank, I could be, like, really jealous of you too. I'd be like, "How come
yeah,
he
I
can
had
do
that.
these things and I can't?"
Yeah, yeah, I had that a little bit. I didn't realize it, but, now thinking about it, I was like, "Yeah, yeah, that was fun.
That sounds fun.
That was
My
fun."
brother had like an entrepreneurial spirit, so like he would sell services during the summer, and then it wasn't until he had already graduated, I think I was in middle school, he was like, "You're not making any money at school?" And I was like, "What? No, I'm
Really?
I'm at school." And he was like, "Man, the things I would do." And it was like when
Yeah.
LimeWire was out and like you could like burn CDs, and that was
Uh-huh.
not like just common. That was not something that every household had, especially
Yeah.
in his time. He's around 10 years older than me. So he would like get song requests and like make MP3 CDs and, sell them.
That's
So
smart.
I tried to do that 10 years later. People were like, we can do that at our house.
Good try, though. Good try.
I think the only good endeavor that I had was I sold candy,
Mhm.
I think in high school. So I went to like the Mexican store. I got all the Mexican candy, like spicy, nice
Yeah,
tangy
yeah.
candy, took it to school. But I was also like a really lazy entrepreneur. So I would like stick it in my locker. I didn't even have a lock on my locker. And I was like, all right, guys, 10 cents, 35 cents, like depending on which one it was. And I didn't care because my parents bought it too.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm just like pocketing the money basically. And then one day
Funny.
two of my classmates, they have these lollipops during recess. I went to a really small school, so we still had recess like into
Mhm,
high school. And I was like, that's so weird because I
mhm.
didn't sell that to them. And I was having a really good time. I was playing volleyball outside, and I was like, okay, I have two options now. I can get upset over the fact that they just stole my candy,
Yeah.
or I can accept that I did not manufacture this myself and they can also purchase candy at a third
Mm.
party place. And I was like, the second option will make me happier. I'm sticking with that.
Yeah,
And then I just like kept playing. And
yeah.
that was the last day that I sold candy. I was like, I'm not going to bring candy to get stolen.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Like, doing business in school, and I think that it's like during those formative years that like you really start, from the outside looking in, that's when you're really forming a personality. Or I guess not forming a personality, but that your personality is taking shape and revealing itself to the
Mm,
world, right? Like, you don't understand. There's nothing really for you to understand, right? Because you're just being you. But when I think about it, I was like, how did I even figure all this stuff out? Because like the following year, my most successful in school business yet was trading cards. So there's this game called Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't know if anybody will know it, but I used to watch the cartoon a lot. There's this trading cards, really popular. But again, in Haiti, that's in short supply because that's something you have to travel to go get, right? Like, they don't sell those, but a lot of people want them, so they go for a premium. I didn't have any, but my neighbor did. He had like a deck of cards of 52 cards, and I had this brilliant idea. I don't know how I came up with it, but I asked him, "Do you care about these cards?" He's like, "Oh yeah, well, I mean, just one or two, really, my favorites." And I said, "Well, keep those two. Lend me the other 50 cards for me to go play at school, and I'll bring you back 60 cards next week." And he was like, "What? What do you mean?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll just give me the cards. I'll bring you back more cards. I'll give you back the same amount or whatever, right?" Like, I just told him, "I'll bring you back cards, your cards plus more." So what I did with the cards
was he
is,
in your same school?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay. So
yeah,
he
same
saw your
neighborhood.
business while you
Yeah,
were doing it.
yeah, same neighborhood, same school. So what I started doing is I was really into the show, so I knew what were the good cards and what were not, and I was a pretty decent player, right? So I would be around everybody who played it, and what I knew was what were the valuable cards and the least valuable cards. But I knew that since people couldn't go to a store and buy cards they needed, they had like you had to have a way to trade, right? Like, how were you going to complete your deck and form your strategy if you didn't have the right cards? So what I did is I created like a card exchange where the most valuable cards, to get them, you don't pay me money, you pay me in cards. So I would take two or three cards for one card. So that increased my supply until I had like 150 or 200 cards. Gave back the initial set of cards that he didn't care about. So he didn't
Yeah.
really care what was in there. It was a
Yeah.
lot of shitty cards I gave him back, and then kept the others. So I had my deck, the ones I would trade and the ones I would sell. That blew up. Like, it blew up to the point where the school had to ban it. Yeah, yeah, like, the principal had to come out and ban the business and ban the trading cards, ban everything. It was insane, and I went to a pretty big school,
Yeah.
in Haiti. Yeah, so that was really, really cool. Like, it was to the point where, like, even the teachers knew I had money on me. It was, like, insane.
The teachers were like, "Hey, can you lend me a dollar?"
Yeah, yeah, or like, can you break 100 for me? I know you have cash. I had like a fanny pack. It is just, I'm telling you, it was really, really insane. But I had a lot of fun.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was that your last business that you did before you left Haiti?
Yeah, yeah, because during my prime there, that's where the earthquake happened. So that happened in 2010 on I think it was a Tuesday, January 12th,
And you
around
were like what,
4.
15, 16?
Yeah, 15 going on 16 at the time. And that happened on Tuesday, January 12th, like 4:50ish PM. And then, my life was never the same after that.
Yeah, I remember you went into detail about the entire story, but I think what struck me the most was you're impacted, and at the same time, you don't know what's going on, right?
Mhm.
Like, you don't know if your parents are okay. Like, can you talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll walk you through it a little bit. So the interesting thing about earthquakes is there's you can't it's really hard to predict, right? Like, if it's not a recurring thing that's happened a lot at the same place, you just don't know it's going to happen, right? By contrast, a volcano erupting, you can somewhat, a hurricane, you can see it, tropical storms, you see it coming, but an earthquake is instant and it's everywhere. So there's nowhere to go. There's no evacuating. Like, if you're indoors, go outdoors is really the only thing you can do. Or if you can't go outdoors, be like, what's called a triangle of life, like on the edge of a table where things will fall and create a triangle under, and you'll be
Okay.
safe there. So
Okay.
so those are your only options, but you don't know that, right? So when it happened, it was really abrupt. Nobody expected it. We had never had, like, it had been maybe 100 years, if I'm not mistaken, since the last earthquake. So, like, not in anybody I know's lifetime, right? So we can't expect it. But it happened on a Tuesday afternoon. It was after school, and it was pretty subtle at first. So it was after soccer volleyball practice. We were standing there, and one of my friends pointed out, like, "Hey guys, the ground is kind of shaking. Look at me, I'm shaking." And I said, "Oh no, that's like, you're just joking, right?" And then split second after, it started, and the earthquake lasted about 52 seconds, something like that, and it was a 7.2 magnitude on a scale of 8. So it's one of the strongest you can have, and it's one of the longest you can have. So it was really terrible, and instant panic. Pretty much, you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do.
How does it feel physically when the ground is shaking? Like, what do you see?
Yeah.
How does it smell?
Yeah, yeah. So the interesting thing there is, you're in panic mode. There's nowhere to go, right? So you're thinking, what do I do? There's really nothing to do, right? So just really wait for it to go by. But what I guess a lot of people don't know is the sound that an earthquake makes. It's like, imagine your phone vibrating, but times 100,000. It's really, 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 really loud. It was to the point where I was screaming and I couldn't hear myself scream. Like, I saw people running by, they were screaming, I couldn't hear them. It was just the sound of vibration, right? To the point where it was known in Haiti after, because a lot of people didn't know the term earthquake. This is, very poor third world country, right? They don't know the word earthquake, so they just called it by the sound, right? Which is, in Creole they call it gudu gudu. Well, it's like woo, woo, like the sound that it makes. That's what they people would call it after the fact, right? Yeah. So that's like the most
Did you know it was an earthquake?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had, maybe played Pokemon and there was a move earthquake or something like that, but I had never like seen what an earthquake is, you
Yeah,
know?
I honestly don't remember what grade I started learning about like natural disasters. I want to say it was in elementary, but yeah, and I think I wanted to ask you something else. Go on, I'll remember.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then so this is what I'm hearing, right? But what I'm seeing is I was in a position where I could see the entire front of my school. It was pretty large. And then I just see, and it was split in a few buildings, and I could just see one after the other, the buildings collapsing, right? Like in front of me. I had friends who were teaching after school. They were teaching people how to read and write, and they were doing it on the third floor, and they were jumping from the third floor down to not get stuck. Yeah, to not get stuck under there. I saw the principal of the school. His exit was towards his office was his office door, sorry, was towards the exit, so towards a patio. And I saw him literally jump out of his office. The door closed behind him and the building fall the second after that. Yeah. So all of that is happening while I'm fearing for my own life. I can't hear anything. My senses are all tripped up.
Can you
And
still
like,
stand, or is it shaking so much that you fall to the ground?
so I saw a lot of people fall.
Okay.
But, like, I think I was jumping. It was just, like, a hysterical moment. I didn't even know what I was doing at the time. I know I wasn't running, I was pretty stationary, but I think I was jumping. But I saw a lot of people just, run, 'cause in a split second, I had to think. I was like, "My instinct is to run, but where?"
Right.
You
And
know, like,
the
there's
entire ground is shaking.
yeah, there's nowhere to run. And then I start seeing smoke coming up. I start seeing like a lot of things happen. And as the earthquake dies down, then you start hearing everything else. So it's like gradually you start hearing the screams, you start hearing the sirens, you start hearing like the rubble, like you just start hearing a lot of things. It gradually comes to you until that becomes almost deafening, you know? And your ears are shot. Like it's really, it's not for the weak. Like I would not wish that on anybody to go through something like that.
Yeah, I feel like 50 seconds or 50 plus seconds is a
Hmm.
really long time
Yeah,
because you have
yeah,
plenty of time to be thinking like, what is going on? How am I going
yeah,
to get out of this? That's
yeah. Like it's hard to put in perspective. It's like if you Google what the average time you can spend in an ice bath, for example, right? It's not that long.
yeah.
Like it's not 50 seconds, and people, it's an ice bath, right? Like that's painful, but like imagine your life changing, everything around you crumbling, and you have to, like, I can still see it like super super clearly in slow motion, play it frame by frame. I have not forgotten 1 second of that day,
Wow.
of everything that happened.
Were all of your brothers at school? Like, did y'all all go to the same school, or were some in elementary versus you were in high school or something?
Yeah, so two of us were in high school and two in elementary.
Okay.
So the one who was in high school was at my school. And then I honestly wasn't even thinking, I had forgotten of anybody else's existence until I saw a classmate of mine who also had a younger brother walking out of a, building and just carrying him, covered in blood, and the brother's motionless. Then I realized, oh, my brother's here, and I started looking for him. We had a few friends who were good friends, so they linked us up. Right? They told me, "Hey, your brother's here. He's fine." So I go to him. He was sitting somewhere, a little bit in shock, but we were fine. And then the next instinct was to call my parents. That's when I take out my phone, which at that point was no longer selling games, but took out my phone, and there's no service. Can't reach my mom or my dad. And I'm at school, and my dad's supposed to pick me up, and I have no idea what's happening. So we just trusted that one of them would show up, and my dad showed up maybe an hour and a half later, to get us from there. And then we went home from then, but it was catastrophic because we lived maybe a 10-minute drive from home, no freeways, no, just inside roads, 10-minute drive from school. And we took the same road home, and I recognized almost nothing on that path. Everything had completely changed. A lot of houses completely leveled, supermarkets that we used to go to gone. It like convenience stores, anything you can imagine. The landscape had completely changed. Places were on fire. There were people, bloody on the streets, missing limbs, motionless, just like, and that 10-minute drive felt like an hour because you have
Yeah.
to drive and like drive around bodies. It's like it's really, not to get too grim, but it was really really catastrophic. And I think it took the lives of about 300,000 people. When
What
everything was said
percentage
and
of the
done.
country was that?
So at the time, I think we had 11 million people, or 11 million people. So still considerable amount,
Yeah.
like 3% of the population or something like that, just gone in 50 seconds. You know,
Yeah. Oh, that's
um,
wild.
yeah, and that's what they could count, right? Because a lot of people they just couldn't count because there was nobody to claim them, and the efforts, like who knows who's still under those foundations today, right? Like there weren't that many resources. Cemeteries were packed. They had to literally dig holes to mass bury bodies. Like it's not a joke. It was really bad. So we head home, and then when we get there, my other two brothers are there. Thankfully, my grandma's there, but my mom is not. So we had to sit there and wait for her. We couldn't go inside the house. Well, we didn't want to because I think there was some announcement on the radio, which was the only thing that was actually working
Mm,
communication wise, that there could be aftershocks, which are basically smaller earthquakes after the big one.
mhm.
And but those in and of themselves felt like earthquakes. Well, they qualify as earthquakes, like five, 5 on on the Richter scale, I think
Which
it's
is
called.
pretty high
Five, yeah,
compared like, given that
yeah,
that's talking
5 or
about
6.
8.
Like a 5 and a 6 are like a proper earthquake. Anything I think over 3.6 or 4 is classified as an earthquake. So the aftershocks of that earthquake were earthquakes on their own, right? So that was really 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 tough to go through. But we basically, this was at this point like 6:30 p.m. We're there. We wait for 7 p.m. My mom doesn't show up. 8 p.m. My mom doesn't show up. 9 p.m. we can't reach her. 10 p.m. still nothing, and at 11 p.m. she shows up. And at that point, we were properly freaking out,
Of
right? Like,
course.
yeah, like we can't find
You
her.
can't reach her. There's no way
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
so.
and we've seen death all day, right?
Yeah.
So at that point,
Did you guys know where she was? Like, was it possible to go look for her?
and no, no,
Okay.
no, but she was a few miles, maybe 5 or 6 miles away from home, maybe like more like 7 miles, but
Okay.
through ups and downs, right? So Haiti is a very mountainous place. You're either driving up somewhere or down somewhere.
Okay.
So she was 7 miles away from us in straight shot distance, but in driving distance it's longer. And she walked all the way home. Yeah,
Uphill and downhill the entire way.
yeah,
And I can
she
only
walked.
imagine, like, she's walking home not knowing what she's gonna come home to.
Or not to.
Or yeah, possibly no one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so she walked home, and it was about 11 p.m., 11:30, and that's when we finally saw her. From like when it started at 4:50 p.m. to 11 p.m. I didn't know if my mom was alive, and that was like really, really, really tough. But we got reunited, and that was good. Almost everybody in the neighborhood pretty much gathered around. Like we pulled our cars together to sleep outside, sort of in a circle, because nobody could sleep inside. We didn't know what was going to happen. And then one of the houses that was under construction there also fell, but we didn't have a lot of casualties, thankfully. So all our families were good. And then I think the next day or 2 days later, we start running out of water. So we're sort of looking for, because there's no grocery stores and all of that, right? And you weren't ready for that. But my dad had an office close by. So he said, "Hey, I have a lot of water. I have like like a really, really big water supply. We can just go there and bring water back for everybody. It's no problem." So that was good. But as I mentioned, he's a network engineer, right? So he was always on the forefront of technology. So everybody had sort of whatever internet company that they had, right, to connect to the internet. But he had his own satellite dish, right, both at home and at his office. And then when he goes there, he's like, "There's no connection anywhere, but I bet I can still connect." Right. So my
Yeah.
mom went with him and connected to her work email.
Mhm.
And from Switzerland, one of her superiors literally asked her, "Are you alive?" That was it. Not the regular work email you would be
Yeah.
receiving,
I hope this
you know,
email finds you well.
on
I
a
hope this email
Wednesday.
finds you alive.
Hope this email finds you at all. So that
Gosh.
yeah, and then she replied, "Yes," with like poor connection, but still connection. And they replied, "We'll send someone to get you. Be ready, 24 hours, one suitcase for the entire family."
Per
And
person or for like
no, no, for all of us.
everyone? One
Yeah,
suit. Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So, and we had few more members come with us, right? So it was four brothers, my mom, my dad, that's six, my grandma, my seven, and then two, a couple that my mom sort of encountered on her way back that she basically took charge of because they had a baby. And she said, "Walk with me, come to my house. I know everything's going to be safe. Bring your baby." You know, she literally met those people on the street. And they were going to evacuate with us. Now, feels good for us because we have the option to.
Wait, so was that like 10 people then?
9. 9 plus the baby. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But they thought we were gonna be 6. So so
Surprise.
yeah, exactly, right? So we head back, and now there's a problem because we can leave, but none of our friends and neighbors can. So that's a tough conversation to have, right? So it's like, do you feel like you're leaving them, but do you prioritize your own and your family's safety, right? So, and it's like, are they really going to understand that? Because it's like really uncharted territories here, right? Because like
It's literally survival.
you could literally be leaving somebody to die, right? And somebody could feel that you're leaving them to die, right? Like you're taking your escape but not helping them.
Yeah.
But there's not much we can do, right? So my parents decided, let's go leave the keys to the house and all the supplies to the office and everything to them, and then we'll try and get some help somehow, right? So the following morning, 5 a.m. on the dot, a truck pulls up, or two trucks, I think, pull up, and then say, "All right, everybody, let's go." And then we head to the airport. And then that trip to the airport was the most grim scenery I've ever seen till this day. Just complete disaster, chaos. And this was after like the main event. So now it's like everything is quiet. All you have to experience is the image. And you're just seeing everything that you knew completely transformed. We had plans to go to the grocery store in the weekend. It wasn't there anymore to go to,
Yeah.
you know? So you just focus on the image. And I remember that I didn't speak for like a few days, right? From when it happened, maybe to, you know, if they asked me a question, but I really just like, I had nothing to say, right? Because I
Yeah.
was just absorbing so much. And then we head to the airport. Basically, they had everything ready for us, right? So we skipped the line, go all the way to a plane, jet out of there. And that was my last day living in Haiti.
My goodness. And this, wow. You said it
Yeah.
happened on a Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
remember Tuesday morning?
Yeah, yeah. It was the most regular day you can imagine. I think I had just failed some Spanish test, you know, like that morning. It was like the most just like there was nothing that could indicate that something like that was going to happen or anything special was going to happen, right? It's just like it could be today. You know, like it's
Yeah.
the most random. So that day was honestly nothing to write home about. Just
Yeah.
we got up, did our morning routine, got breakfast, went to class, and then went to
Living
soccer
your life
practice
again.
after class, literally living life until you weren't. Yeah.
I grew up in Houston and we go through hurricane season every year. So I'm well aware of like how life changing that could be. And I wouldn't even say life changing, but maybe more like routine changing, right? And
Yeah.
in some
Yeah.
cases, life changing. We've had, I think, two big hurricanes in my lifetime while I was there. And one time we had evacuated and we came back and the ceiling was on the ground.
Whoa.
So my reaction to that, I'm kind of strange. I laugh through the pain. I wouldn't say I was in pain, but I was in shock. So like I'll laugh all day long. We're heading back into the city. We're approaching our neighborhood. There are no lights anywhere. And so then I'm just like, oh, lights went out again. You know, no big deal. Because like that's what happens. The thunderstorms in Houston are so bad that like it's normal for the lights to go out whenever there's a big thunderstorm. Anyway, so this was my second hurricane after Hurricane Katrina. So Hurricane Katrina was like, oh my gosh, hurricanes are actually dangerous for like my generation, right? Like because we before that it was like, oh, just rain, whatever. Katrina happens. And then right after Katrina, there was one called Rita. And we evacuated. We were stuck in traffic for like 15 hours. And whenever we came back, nothing happened. It was kind of like a false alarm. Well, this is my second hurricane. This is Hurricane Ike. So whenever we're pulling into the neighborhood and everything is off, and then I just see like all of the like debris all over the ground, like in the streets, I am laughing uncontrollably. And
No
my brother
way.
is driving, and he's like, "Why are you laughing? This isn't funny." And I was like, "Because it wasn't like this when we left."
Yeah. And it's just your response, you
Yeah.
know?
So
Yeah.
we get in the house and we had prepped, right? Like just in case something did happen. And we pushed all of our furniture. We pushed all of our furniture to like the middle of the house.
Mhm.
And that was where the ceiling fell.
No, nice.
So
Good
we
job.
had
Just good job.
thanks, thanks. We predicted it really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything was soaking wet, like all our sofas. And
Mhm.
my mom really likes to preserve her furniture. So she had things that were at least 15, if not more, years old that
Gosh,
she
what
got
a lot.
gifted as a wedding present, just
Oh, no.
things that she values, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So instantly, like we got there and we put the furniture out to dry, like, and it took like a few days to dry. There was no power for about a month, so we
1
had to
month?
get roughly, yeah, I
Wow.
think it was in the neighborhood, it was like maybe 2-ish weeks, and then at our company it was an entire month, so like that was its own thing. But yeah, so we got a generator, people were fighting over gasoline, like
Mhm.
Houston goes like up in arms every time there's a
Yeah.
hurricane, but we knew, right? And we're used to this. And you get to mentally prepare, and as it's happening you can process, and then after the fact you can process like still some more.
Mhm.
So I can only imagine the impact that this has on your psyche and your emotions, cuz like your life was just never the same after this.
No, no, no. Like, the moment it started, my life changed. The moment it started. And, you know, I was at peace. I wouldn't say at peace, but I realized that very quickly. Like, almost instantaneous. I was like, yeah, life is never the same. Like, will never be the same anymore. As soon as it ended and calmed down, I was like, yep, my life's about to change.
Wow. Did you find that you and your brothers were able to process this in a similar way? Or like, because I know you ended up, was it to the Dominican Republic that you guys
Yeah.
fled?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Did
So
you
we
already
went.
speak Spanish?
No, like I
Okay.
said, I have failed a Spanish exam. That's the Tuesday morning.
Oh
I
man.
was not looking forward to that. But we went there. So we had two options to go to the Dominican Republic or to the US. My mom chose the Dominican Republic because she already had an office there from her
Hmm.
position at Nestle. So she did business in both countries.
Hmm.
And I think, the person responsible for the Caribbean was also in Dominican Republic. So they would just work from there.
DR and Haiti, they share the same island, or am I
Yeah,
wrong?
exactly. Yeah.
Was the Dominican Republic not affected? Like, was it far enough away to where they weren't as affected by the hurricane? Okay.
Yeah.
The earthquake.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, they felt it definitely, but
Okay.
we're not affected almost at all. I mean, there were in like some rural places you might have had some damage, but mostly not.
Okay.
Yeah, so we went to the Dominican Republic because my mom had an office there and the path to immigration would have been easier
Mm.
there than here.
Yeah.
She was super smart and super quick in figuring all that stuff out. So we went there, had to learn Spanish, right? So we lived in a hotel for about a month until we got a place, an apartment to stay in. I was in Spanish classes within like 2 weeks. I was in a different high school, continuing my studies within about a week of landing there.
Hmm.
So props to my mom and whoever helped her get through all of that. But it was interesting, like making new friends and starting this new life and figuring these new things out. And I don't even know if my current friends or old friends are even alive at that point, right? Because everybody's like just starting to log into Facebook and checking in like 2 weeks after. And I'm just like in class, like learning stuff, being on recess, meeting people. So it was a really, really, there was a dichotomy there. And in terms of processing it, I don't remember actively, like an active processing sort of method or anything that happened. I do know that we did go to a psych evaluation. My mom's company just recommended it just from the shift that we had done, and we didn't seem like we were freaking out, so that was freaking them out. So we went, but like
A
one
little too
thing,
calm.
yeah, yeah, I know, right? They're like, what's going on here? So one thing that came out of those evaluations, they were individual. When we were asked to picture something or show or express a good time in our lives, we all drew our home, right? Like the actual house of what we were. So that's a point on where we're like, well they said you need to give them a home, right? And they're going to miss this. Like they need to go back at least from time to time. But that's the only thing I know in terms of processing it. My brothers and I really haven't spoken about it explicitly. We just kept living. Is the main way I'll put it. We just kept living.
Wow. And how did the family dynamic change with this change?
Also was never the same because my parents went back to Haiti. Like I mentioned, it was a rush. They had a lot going on.
Yeah.
They set us up and then they went back because nobody knew what was going to happen. Right. So what was going to happen to the house, the cars, the businesses? Like, well, the businesses were lost because my mom was in catering. Nobody was ordering food the next day.
Yeah.
Right. My dad was getting contracts to build networks. Like, like at least for the short term, that wasn't going to happen, right? And let alone jobs or anything like that. So they had a lot to figure out. They flew back and they left me and my brothers. I was 15, my brothers were 13, 11, and 5 years old. And we had
So
basically,
you suddenly become a dad.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Pseudo dad, really quick. So, parent teacher meetings, I had to go. Whenever one of them was getting bullied, I had to respond. Whenever, grocery shopping, paying bills. Well, my mom was still financing everything, but like I had to physically go into the office to pay the light bill, go into
Yeah.
the office to pay the internet bill, and then I learned how to drive shortly after, then drove them to school, drove back, to wherever they needed to be, handled the immigration process, to get our residences, talk to the lawyers, just like anything you can imagine. We did have some help with, cooking and cleaning, so that was good. But other than that, it was basically a free for all.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
pseudo dad with three kids
yeah,
at 15.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
did
And
you go ahead?
yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say that, all of those things maybe would have been more or less okay, but we were living in a country that's really hostile to Haitians. So that was an added layer to the whole thing. Is like Dominicans don't want Haitians in their country. Period. For the most part, we didn't have too much of an issue with that because in their eyes, we came from a more affluent background compared to what they know. We were just like upper middle class maybe, but to them they're just used to seeing people that are very poor, right? So really, like, we could have been better welcome, I'll put
Right.
it that way. And it just never stopped. We did a good job blending in because we spoke English, we picked up Spanish fairly quickly and fairly well, and we could just hang with them, but a lot of people didn't have that luck or that luxury. So
The Haitians that had to
yeah,
immigrate to Dominican Republic.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. I I don't think I've ever experienced that, like, because even in Texas, anytime, like, my brothers would say sometimes that, like, my neighbors were a little racist or something, and I was just, like, oblivious. I was like, "No, they don't like because I'm tall," you know? Whatever it is, like, and it wasn't until I grew older that I was like, maybe it could have been a race thing, or because I also think that when you're a kid, I'm also thinking of, like, younger than the teenage years, I don't think you can think about race. I don't think you can
Well,
process it.
there's not really like you don't know the concept of
Mhm.
race even, so there's nothing really to think about because it just doesn't exist to
Yeah.
you.
But what is true to you is like, "Oh, my parents don't like this person,
Hmm.
therefore I shouldn't like this
Yeah,
person."
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
how did 15 and 16-year-old Carl handle this drastic life change? Like, what did you have time to think?
No. So that's so very, very. I think it's very interesting that I remember the event really, really well. But a
Mhm.
lot of things after it, I don't, because just a lot was happening at the same time, and I didn't have a chance to think about what was happening. I just
Mhm.
had to do, right? So a lot of times I just had to move and keep doing things, because if I didn't, then we would drown or something wouldn't get done,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of times I like not a lot of times, on a daily basis, I would just act before I thought, and I just did whatever I felt was right, or whatever I felt was the right thing to do or was my responsibility. But really, no time to think about anything because I don't even know what to think about. Like I've never had kids, my parents haven't been in the situation before. It's their first time too, so I can't ask them for advice. I can't ask any of my friends for advice because they're not going through that. My old friends or my new friends. So I'm really like in this. That's a unique position. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. So that was a unique position I was in where like there was nobody I could fathom asking, what do I do here? Not even myself. So
Mhm.
I just had to do a lot of trial and error and just process things however much I could over time. But yeah, no time to think. So a lot of those things, because I didn't think them, probably that's why I don't remember them. I just remember a lot happened and a lot got done because of the results.
Mm.
But in the middle, I remember almost.
Were you guys able to stay united through this change?
Yeah. We've always been pretty close. Well, my brothers and I, yes, we've always been pretty close and pretty tight. We give each other our space, thankfully. But it just felt like over time there was a sort of a distance growing between us because I was more of a like I know I'm the eldest, but I was really senior in terms of life experience because of all
Mhm.
the things I had to take care of.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's been a long time since I've felt like a really, really peer connection with my brother. Like it almost feels like my brothers are my kids, not really my brothers. Like I don't it's almost like I don't have like a true like when you have like a brother who's like 2 years older, 2 years younger, you do the same things.
Yeah.
After 15, I stopped having brothers. So we would still game from time to time and all of that, but it really like our responsibilities were not like we were operating in different age ranges. It's like I was 10 years older
Yeah.
than the one next to me,
Yeah.
which is the distance in time or in age, the difference in age between me and my youngest brother, right? So like if you think about it, he was 5 years old when like that's like a kid.
Yeah.
Like, he
That's like,
cannot
what
feed
is
him.
happening?
Yeah, like, you cannot feed yourself, you cannot do anything, so I had to, like, take care of everything.
Yeah, I think
So we stayed close. Sorry, just ending my thought there. So we stayed close in terms of bond, but we got really distant in terms of experience, right?
being
So
able to relate to each other.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
get that. Yeah, I was 7, I think, when 9/11 happened, and my seven-year-old brain, to this day, I remember because like, they kept on repeating the same clip on the TV for, like, a
Mhm,
whole week. Like, there was, like, different clips of the same thing,
mhm.
and I kept thinking, like, why is sand falling from the sky? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Why is it raining sand? And then on top of that, there's people running towards the sand. And I'm just like, well, if you're complaining about the sand, well, run away from it. Why are you running
Yeah,
toward like, and that was all I could like process.
mhm.
And I was like, what's wrong with these people? And I'm sure it was like the talk of the town and everything that anyone would talk about, but I just never understood. I think until I was older, probably at least 2 years, that I was like, "Oh, that was an attack." Like, buildings fell.
Wow.
I think I was either really dumb or I couldn't understand the
Yeah.
concept of what happened.
Mhm.
So, being 5, right, and having all
Yeah.
of that happen, I
Yeah.
just wouldn't
Yeah,
have
there's
understood
I
why.
think there's some, like there's a big opportunity for trauma there,
Yeah.
because like 5, 6, 7, that's when those are really, really, truly formative years, right?
Mhm.
Like, the stuff you go through there will resonate, I think, through your entire life,
Mhm.
So, thankfully, everything came out alright in
Mhm.
the end, but it was a very scary situation.
Yeah, yeah. So, did you end up going to college in the Dominican Republic as well?
Yeah, so I went to high school there. That was a lot of fun. I'll say that. Like that was a highlight there because I got to meet a lot of people I'm still connected with today. One of my best friends I met there. We still talk today and see each other a few times a year. I was pretty good in class. Like I was always like kind of smart and know how to take tests, so I did pretty good
Mhm.
in school. I was captain of the soccer team while I was there. So that was
Okay.
yeah, that was fun. That's when
Entrepreneur, athlete,
yeah, I know.
trilingual.
Yeah, that's when I started, going out like really, seeing the streets for what they are,
Mhm.
and then that's when I started going to the gym. Also, because I was pretty skinny, so between sophomore year and senior year, that summer, I
Mhm.
worked out a lot and got like super buff. My senior year went really well, so that that was a pretty
Get
good
off.
year. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was a pretty good year. And then after that, I did go to college there. Always had something going on, as you can imagine. Like I always had some part time job. I was selling something. I had a clothing line at some point. Then I started selling cars. Importing cars, sorry, from the U.S., from Japan and South Korea into the Dominican Republic to sell. All while I'm in school. Like any commission work I could find put my hands on, I would get just to generate income. I had like a few jobs really, but I didn't really
Mm.
stick to them, which kind of sucked because I thought, the concept of an employee, like I thought, oh, I can be like a good employee because I'm a good team member and I'm smart and I want the best for the company and all of that. But I always end up doing my own thing. Always end up doing my own thing, and it's really hard for me to fit within that structure.
Mm.
Like I'll get sort of like to the top of where I need to be and just get really bored. I would just get because there's no like once I figured it out, there's no challenge, right? So there's no problems to solve. Like it's just the same thing. Like I've solved this 20 times already. Can I get something new?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And so that's what makes it really really hard. I don't have an issue with the concept or with the position of an employee. Like I'm not like a evangelist of be your own boss and it's just like I just get really bored if I'm not solving something important, and the main way to get a lot of leads for being doing something important or solving problems is a lot of times to create them, so I start companies and do a lot of stuff that have no answers. Then I'm like having fun sort of solving the problems. But yeah, I finished undergrad there, did it in business, and then moved to the US to do my MBA in 2019, which is like 5 years ago now, almost.
Just 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, it's no over 5 years ago because I moved in August 2019. It's like 5.5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from what I know of your story,
Mm.
so in 5.5 years,
Yeah.
you went from not having a credit score,
Yeah.
starting multiple companies,
Huh?
building a portfolio worth millions. You had to live in a house and a halfway house at some
Yeah.
point, right? And okay, so tell us more about your impressive story.
Yeah. So that's chapter two.
Tune in next week.
Yeah, yeah, I know, right? Part two of this episode. So, like I mentioned, I moved here in 2019. The initial plan was I'll go get a master's, get a good job, maybe as a management consultant, make six figures, and woohoo, I got life figured out, and then I'll be good. At the time, I had a girlfriend who lived in the US, and that was like, kill two birds with one stone, move, get higher education, focus on my future and be with my girl, right?
Was your main reason for moving wanting a change of scenery? Was it to be closer to your girlfriend? Was it the school itself?
No, so I always knew that I would move out of Dominican Republic
Okay.
because it was just not a very welcoming place,
Mhm.
and I felt that the ceiling was really low for what I wanted to achieve in life.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, sorry, it's an island with like 12 million people on each side.
Mhm.
Like you're not gonna get that much done, right? Like there's not a lot of the opportunities that happen here in a country of over 300 million people. Like a lot of that stuff doesn't happen there. Like, and I'm saying even coincidental stuff, right? Like things that get generated and popped up, things you you don't control. There's not enough chaos happening to create opportunities within a system that you can grab onto and succeed, like ride that wave and succeed. So I understood that really early. It's like there's just not enough people here. So I have to go somewhere bigger. And the other side of it too is I just saw how my people were treated there, and I just couldn't back that. Like a
Yeah.
lot of I did not some research, but just empirically I looked at my circle and I saw that almost pretty much every Haitian graduate from a Dominican university with a Dominican degree, most of them were not getting jobs. They were not getting hired unless it was an international company like a big four consulting firm or a Nestle or someone who just doesn't care about where you're from. They just care about your skills. Those were, we were being hired by those, but not by any like local company, not
Yeah.
in anything serious,
Yeah.
and then even in business, a lot of the and this has changed a little bit recently, but a lot of the businesses that Haitians start is with a Dominican partner to be the face, right? Because you don't get trust. So all those things just I needed to get out,
Yeah.
right? I didn't know where or how or when yet, but higher education was the most likely path for me to do that. And then I started researching MBAs. And then well, around the same time, I was dating a girl who came here for law school. And then, higher education, like we'll be a power couple, whatever, let's meet, right?
Yeah.
So I knew that that was in my future, but the relationship was the trigger, I would say, for me to like really, really get serious about it and then make that change. And then when I got here, we broke up within like 2 days. A lot. There's just a lot to unpack there, but then now I have to like replan everything, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like
Again, having to completely pivot and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
change the
I don't
whole.
know where, right? Like unpredictable, and well, just have to. So I had options. I could either go back, right?
Mhm.
Because I still had time to go back. Nothing had happened yet, right? I had started classes, or I could go back, right, and go back to a nice job and or go back to Haiti and build something there, or I could stay and see it through,
Mhm.
despite the great setback I had just experienced.
Plug for the podcast that
Yeah,
Carl
yeah,
hosts.
yeah, subtle, subtle. Um, so yeah, so I decided to stay. But again, I was in a situation where I had nobody to turn to for any advice or guidance, right? I was the first one in my family to go to get any higher education, like past undergrad, like I'm saying master's level education. I was the first one to move out of the country on my own and blaze a trail there. I was just the first one to do a lot of that stuff. So I
Yeah.
couldn't ask anybody for anything. But
Yeah.
I decided to stay, and I thought, how hard can it be? Like I got here, how hard can it be to stay here? Well, as it turns out, very
It's
freaking
pretty
hard.
hard.
Yeah.
Did you come to a point where you were like, it's getting so hard that I'm thinking about going back? Or was it just like, let's
No,
what
no.
was what would have made you cancel this new endeavor?
I don't think anything would have.
Okay.
My mind was set. Once I decided that that's what I wanted to do, it was just gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
In my head, right? So I would go to like I would have to be incapacitated in some way for it to not happen,
I
or for
see.
me to not pursue it.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to see it through, and I really, really, really believe that that was the right next step for me in life to go where I wanted to go. And I had just been through a lot to get here, and I did not want to repeat that ever again.
What are the
Yeah.
requirements to get a student visa?
Yeah. So to come here as a student, so you have to qualify for certain things, right? So there's a list of requirements. The biggest hurdle is to get. First of all, you have to go through everything a local American student has to go through, right? So the entire admissions process is a challenge in and of its own, right? So anybody watching this, if you've been to college, remember what that was like to get into a school and competing and doing all that, right? Now, on top of that, English is not your first language. On top of that, you're not in the country. So a lot of times you can't come visit the school in person. You can't go to the presentations. You can't just go to the admissions office. You can't just call the school and ask a question. Like you're in the dark. You're operating from a completely different country in a completely different time zone. And then on top of that, There are some financial requirements. So to get a student visa, the main financial requirement is that the US government asks you to have a year's worth of living expenses in cash upfront. So in liquid assets, but really in cash upfront, either yourself or through sponsorship, but have the money. That includes your
An
first,
entire year.
yeah, 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 your first year's tuition, living expenses like rent, an estimate, but rent, insurance, books, transportation. Like there's a whole list that you need to have to show them, hey, I can afford to be there. Right. And doing that in a foreign country is hard because the dollar is very strong and your currency is very weak. Right. So one American dollar at the time was equivalent to like 50 pesos. So for every American dollar that someone was earning here, I had to work 50 pesos to equal one.
Hmm.
Right. So
And what does 50 pesos afford you at that
like
time?
buying power, 50 pesos could, that's like a dollar. It couldn't even buy a plate of food, like maybe 4 or 5 bananas, 2 avocados. Well, no, one avocado. Like it's not like 50 pesos was a lot of buying power, right? So it's like, it's truly not a lot of money.
Hmm.
It's maybe, a dollar to take a bus somewhere, right?
Okay.
If even that.
So the buying power was about the same, like
Yeah, yeah,
equivalent.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But you're not earning.
Yeah, exactly. You're not earning in US dollars, you're earning in pesos. I had the fortune to have started, half fortune, half, I did it. I'm learning to take credit a little bit to be in the automotive business that operates in dollars, right? Because I have to buy foreign vehicles in dollars
Hmm.
to bring to the country. So I had a US dollar bank account, but most people pay for their cars in pesos. So I'm always exchanging, right? So I'm earning half in pesos, half in dollars, which made it a little bit more bearable, but I still needed $85,000 even be able to apply to school here. And I'm like
You live in
23,
California.
24. Yeah. Yeah. Don't even, just don't, let's not even go there.
I think what's nice is like I'm seeing a tendency. You pick the hardest thing, and then everything else is just like
Yeah. Yeah. And
cash
then
money
everything else.
after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And I'm like 23, 24. Like I'm 30 now. And when I think I'm like, that was freaking crazy.
So
And
you had to have $85,000 saved,
yeah.
not even like yeah.
Yeah. This isn't like they're not going to take a loan, like you're
I'm
not going to take a
30. I have
student
never
loan.
had $85,000 in my bank account
Yeah, like,
ever.
and I was like, and again, in my head or in my person, I'm not realizing that I'm doing something unordinary.
Hmm.
I just have this thing that I'm like, I need to do this, and it's gonna get done, and I just do it, right? And then later, like years later, I think back, wow, that was I did a lot, So I had to
I
do that.
just got commended. So I was like shopping life insurance quotes, and I just got commended a few like weeks ago about, I mean, someone in their 20s wouldn't usually like be disciplined enough to
Mm-hmm,
pay 130 because I was doing like a whole life insurance policy in my 20s, $130 on a monthly basis. And
hmm.
I was like, I mean, it's just 120. Like I wasn't impressed by myself.
Yeah, yeah.
So you know the level of what you did.
Thank you. I'm still digesting it, years later. But that's what I needed to have. And I could have gone a lot of places, right? I got accepted in schools in Florida. I got accepted in schools that are not in San Diego. Like, I think it was UC Irvine, Pepperdine, a couple of schools on the East Coast. My girl was in San Diego, so that's where I'm going.
Yeah. I like
So
that determination.
yeah, yeah. So I picked USD, University of San Diego, and that's how I got here. And then all my plans changed after the breakup, and then I thought, well, I mean, I have some money in the bank. I had started to pay the first semester, but I thought I'll just go get a place like an apartment. I already had budgeted for it, right,
Mhm.
in this whole thing. So it's like, how hard can it be? Well, there's a lot more than money that's necessary to rent a place. So you need to have, decent credit references, renting history, and they need to be able to pull background check on you. Like I didn't even have a social.
Right.
None of those things were an option for me. So I was get either I had to like go live in a hotel
Mhm.
or and blow the money on that. But I didn't. I had a very strict budget as a student, and I left. Like I sold everything I owned. I came with a suitcase. Like I
Yeah.
didn't have a lot of options. Or I could find a place that would house me. So after knocking on a whole lot of doors, getting denied, and doing all that stuff, and based on what I could afford, the only place that I found that gave me a yes was a halfway house downtown. At the moment, I didn't even know what a halfway house was,
I was
or
about to say, for anyone who doesn't know, what is
yeah,
a halfway
yeah.
house?
So a halfway house is basically a place where members of society who are in a transition period in their life, ideally towards a better future, live. So people who have had drug addictions, people who have been in prison, right, or in jail, or just people who have had really maybe unfortunate path
Mhm.
before, or had something unfortunate happen to them, or in this rehabilitation, like a social rehabilitation phase, where they can be out in the world and not have to suffer as much to be there, right? So I think at the time I was paying $695 in rent.
Is that what is that in San Diego terms at that time? Is that cheap?
Yeah, so a one bedroom apartment was maybe 1700 $1,700.
Okay.
About, luxury stuff was 2,000 plus, which now is 3,000 plus. But yeah, you're basically living with a little less than half, right? Like paying a little less than half market rate, which is
Mhm.
good.
Mhm.
But you're not living in an apartment, right? So this is like probably a 10 by 8 room total. It came with a bed, a dresser, a closet, and a sink. And it came with a sink because the bathrooms were shared for the entire floor. I think there were two bathrooms per floor there. So yeah, that was really tough because I was living like around stuff I didn't,
You'd
never
never
knew
have.
about, right? Like
Yeah.
it's, my neighbors screaming profanities all night or all day, people shooting up drugs, fighting. It's just, and the kitchen was also common, right? So you had to go and cook and do dishes. Like it was a tough, tough time. And then it's just this is
Very
coming.
uncomfortable living situation.
Yeah, yeah. And so if you're coming from worse, then I guess it's better. But I worked really, really, really hard, and I had this whole future, not really so much planned, but envisioned, at least like a path. And then I'm going to this fancy school, and I'm away from my family. I'm away from everybody. I left everything behind in chase of this dream. And then I land in a place that's much worse than anything I've ever known in my entire life,
Yeah.
after making the biggest effort I've ever done
Right.
in my entire life. So it's kind of like reversed, right? Like I'm not being compensated for what I just did, you
Yeah.
know?
And I think that a lot of middle class in their country immigrants go through this. I'm going to speak for the Mexicans that I know. Most people flee to the US not because like things are dandy
Hmm.
in
Yeah,
their
yeah.
country. Like eventually they go through some sort of hardship and then they're like, I guess. But my family was upper middle class. So we had hired help.
Hmm.
All of this is what I know from what I've been told because I was a
Yeah,
baby.
yeah,
We had hired help. Like my brothers were in private schools. Like we had it well. And then we had a president that changed the economy of the
uh-huh,
country.
uh-huh,
And after several months of unemployment, the opportunity to come to the States seemed like the best option that was available. And then you have to like have this contrast of being in a country that you don't know with a language you don't speak, suddenly working the jobs that you never thought you would work. Like my dad was a top salesman at his company, really cozy, provided like the company provided for a bunch of things, and then he had to go work like at a tortilla shop and he hated being hot and he
yeah,
would like sweat all the time. My
yeah,
mom ended up doing like cleaning things.
yeah,
And I think in their case, I know that it was a huge blow to their ego, like never imagining that they would have to be in this position. So how was that? Having like cuz you're in a different like you were in a different situation. You did speak the language. It wasn't your
yeah,
first language, but you spoke it and you were coming for educational reason, all of that. But having to live in a completely new environment that was a downgrade in your case,
yeah, yeah.
how did you handle that?
It was, I don't know if I handled it, honestly.
It
I think it
handled
handled
me.
me really. Like, I was just going through it. Like, I just realized that. So there were two things that happened. I realized that if I'm in the middle of the ocean, the only way I drown is if I stop moving. So I just swam, kept going, just paddling, whatever I needed to do with no land in sight. But I'm like, I'm just gonna pick a direction and go, because the alternative is just dying right here. It's just like ending it, going back home with my tail between my legs and just say, you know, I couldn't do it, which I didn't take as an option. But really, really, like I was like, I can remember I was applying to the place and going through and doing the walkthrough and getting the keys. It was tough, but like the really, again, I mentioned I was alone. Like the only thing at that in that moment that kept me going really is that on the phone numbers for Haiti start, the area code is 509, right? And when I applied to the place, there were two rooms open. Was on the and on the top floor it was 514 and 509. And then I chose that room, the 509, because it's the only thing that really, really made me feel like I wasn't alone. Like, hey, I have people behind me, or I have people I can go back to, or like, I have a family, I still have a country, like I'm still a person. So that's where everything really, really connected. Because like at the time it was tough, because I was like, so I got a part-time job at school, because now I had to pay like rent and tuition out of pocket and a lot of stuff. Money was running out.
And what
You
I
know,
know
like,
from part-time jobs at school is that they're not like the most well-paid jobs either.
no, and like as an international student, there's a limit of hours. Like you can't work more than 20 hours
Mhm.
at school, or at all. And then I remember like the only way I could afford like internet at home was because there was this COVID deal for Cox for $15 a month. And even that was tough. And like for food, I remember, the school has or had this program called the food pantry, where basically it would be either donated food or stuff they would buy for students to pick up for free, and then you had to sign up for it and prove that you needed, well, stuff like that. And that's how I got food most of the time. I would just go in there with like a backpack or with a Trader Joe's bag or whatever,
Mhm.
and then pick up food there and go home. But it's not like anything fancy or nutritious. It's really, really the basics. Like eggs, milk, toothpaste, dishwasher. Not dishwasher. I wish washing machine pods. Like
Yeah.
laundry pods. Protein bars, stuff that's like about to expire that people are just giving away. Like free clothes, stuff like that. So I think like 80%, 85% of my food came from there. Other than that, I don't know how I would have done it really, because I was like razor thin margins. And most of my friends didn't know this while I was going through it.
And this is also including the fact that you are renting a place that is under market value too.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, that's tough.
Exactly. But I didn't have roommates, which I think was maybe a positive there, because I wasn't used to the concept of. I don't think I would have been able to add a whole other layer of living with someone else I don't know in
With a
this
stranger.
entire thing. Yeah, in this entire thing.
Okay. But like how many months did it take you to leave this place?
I was there from, I think, 10 months, 9 months, 10 months.
Okay. So almost an entire year.
Grueling. Yeah. Yeah, grueling. I tried to be at school as long as possible every day, to basically not be
Home.
at home. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's literally just a room,
Yeah. I
and
can
like,
understand that
yeah,
feeling.
and it was, now it's funny, but even so, I would rarely like get picked up or dropped off, from friends and all of that. But in the rare cases where I would be, I would just, there was this newer complex across the street, and I
Mhm.
would just have him pick me up there,
Mm.
or drop me off there, like, because it was
Yeah.
like a brand new construction, right?
Yeah.
But just like stuff you go through, but yeah, that was a. I wouldn't say that I learned a lot in that time, but it really, like, I thought I had thick skin before that, but that really hardened me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't I don't know, I've had a pretty like stable the word?
Mhm.
stable life. Like I haven't had like really high highs or really low lows,
Yeah.
thankfully. My parents went out of their way to give us that type of upbringing and
Hmm.
at their own expense, I think sometimes. But yeah, no, it's rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that is not at all where you are now.
No.
Now
No.
you have two companies. You
Yeah.
are partnered with someone in asset management, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think so. I spent a day with you because you're great.
Thank
I
you.
got
That
to
was
shadow
fun.
everything you do. And we got to talking that day, and I will not shake two things that you said that day. So one was I'll say this one first and I'll mention the other one later, which is about the neighborhood. But this one was after you told me all of the things you do, how much activity there is in your day-to-day basis. I was like, okay, well, that's cool. Like I was super excited to hear about all that. This was coming up on the end of our day together, and I asked, "What do you do for fun?" And your answer was this.
Yeah.
This is what I do for fun.
Yeah.
And I thought, what a gift. Like,
Mhm.
because that means that you are having so much fun and you're getting so much satisfaction and fulfillment out of your work and you know
Mhm.
what is putting food on the table, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's making you more successful to the point where you just want more.
Yeah.
You're just
Yeah.
hungry for more and you
Yeah.
can't wait to get it.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's where a lot of people want to find themselves. You
Mhm.
know, I do think you're a hustler and I think you grind
Thank
quite a
you.
bit. Can't relate. Wouldn't want that. You have like 26-hour work days.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love the fact that you're just so, I guess, deep into what you enjoy
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it's a gift to wake up every morning and you get to do it again.
Yeah. I think so too, and that's I think really not caused by me. I was just brought into real estate, and so I decouple it a little bit. Real estate is a lot of fun to be in because there's a lot of problems to solve
Mhm.
on a daily basis. But the real thing is that in real estate, the problems you solve actually pay you. So a lot of people are solving problems that can't be monetized. But
Yeah.
in real estate, every chance you get, you can get paid for solving somebody's problem. So I think that I got lucky that I I was brought in that industry, in that industry will always have a lot of problems that need to be solved on a daily basis. So it's a lot of fun because of that, right? Because I can't tell you what's going to happen tomorrow.
Mhm.
I can't tell you what's going to happen later today.
Yeah.
Like I can't tell you what has happened during our conversations. Always moving,
Mhm.
and with all the properties we touch, all the assets, and all now a few companies that I run, there's always something to be solved. So I wake up every morning really really excited, sometimes dreading a little bit, but really really excited for what I'm going to solve that day. I just try to not be my own problem most of the time.
Try
you
not
know
to get in my own way.
Exactly, exactly. But
So,
I got lucky, to so
yeah.
that what I like to do gets me paid.
I mean, you got lucky in a sense because you put yourself in places where the right opportunity came about.
Mhm.
So
Have
I think
have
you should also give yourself credit for like
Yeah, so I will say this, that some rooms that I got into, I didn't anticipate and they were good, but I had a good eye in recognizing where I was
Mhm,
and in leveraging where I was, right? Because anybody who tells you that everything that they've achieved is solely because they're so great, I don't think is going to be the case. But taking the advantage of the opportunities that you get and being ready for them, that's your job.
mhm,
Is just to be ready for when those things happen. Because a lot of times you don't know when, how, what, where. Just you just got to be ready to
yeah,
bounce whenever life says bounce. So I've done a good job at being ready for those things. And a few things you can pull a few strings on, but a lot of the bigger stuff, like you just don't. It's not you. Even so. Think about this. A lot of people network and are very intentional with the people that they get to meet, right? To open doors for them and all of that. You might be really a really good social engineer to get into a room and meet somebody, but you have no say in how that person became who you wanted to meet, right? Like their entire life was outside of your control
mhm,
up until you met them.
Mhm.
So it's not really you. Like that person could have not been them. Like
To speak to the fact that you said that you have set yourself up like to be prepared,
mhm.
right? Maybe it's not specifically like being in control of what another person can do for you or
Yeah,
even
yeah,
meeting them, but having the grounds off of which you can be like confident
yeah,
and say, "Yep, I'm your guy," or
yeah,
like we can click, whatever it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
You did mention you're not doing a good job of giving yourself credit. I agree.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So what is it's Parkside Management,
Yeah,
right? Or
yeah.
Parkside Assets.
Mm.
What do you guys do? What's your specialty?
Yeah, so I run a company called Parkside Asset Management. It's a real estate firm, pretty much. We buy, build a residential real estate firm. We buy, build, and manage residential assets in San Diego, all around town. So, anything from property management to general contracting, construction, and a lot of services within those, acquisitions, investments, and real estate. So we touch a lot of the verticals within the industry.
For anyone who doesn't speak business, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Touching the
So
verticals.
yeah. So verticals are basically activities or lines of business within an industry. Meaning, for example, if I'm going to take an example in real estate, is you're going to have property management. That's one vertical. You're going to have construction. That's another vertical. You're going to have interior design, for example, and you can break it up into a million things, right? Like so, AC contractors, plumbing, electrical, engineering, all those things are different verticals
Okay.
um, for within the industry, you know.
Mhm.
So we do a good job at serving all of that and bringing a lot of it in house to create. I don't want to say a one stop shop, but a really good cohesive experience for all of our clients.
Great.
Yeah.
So who's your ideal client?
Our ideal client, someone who can bring us a problem we can solve.
Okay.
Pretty much. So we have a lot of fun taking tired assets and bringing them back to life. So, we just onboarded this client who bought a 14 unit building that has a lot of tenants that are, behind on rent. It's, like the building has a lot of parts that are wood, so it's like rotten and a lot of things going on. And we're basically doing the entire renovation inside and out and refreshing the asset, right? And then bringing in new life into it, which will probably bring them higher quality tenants and be a better investment over time. Right.
Okay.
So another one, we're taking a single family home, tearing it down, building 14 to 20 units on it. Right. And then a few other people bring us good assets that are just badly managed or not operated well.
Mm.
So they're losing money or not performing as well as it could be. Well, we do the work and get it to where it should be, and at least performing close to according to performa, right? So that they can have the exit that they want and that they need.
Okay. Is there a certain radius you like to operate in, or is it all of Southern California?
Mainly San Diego.
Okay.
I believe in going an inch wide and a mile deep rather than a mile wide and an inch deep. So we know our market really, really, really well. And we're only getting better at it every single day and bringing more and more services in house to be able to serve our clients really well.
Great. Yeah, so I think this is the part that the other thing that really stood out. What is the name of the neighborhood you operate in mostly?
Linda Vista.
Linda Vista?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think you mentioned like it was along the lines of like I want to own this entire neighborhood. Like I want every piece of this land.
Yeah.
And you did not stutter. You didn't
No.
blink. You didn't hesitate. And at first I think for a split second I thought you were joking. And then I was like, right. This is the kind these are the kind of people I get to surround myself with now. People who are not afraid to be ambitious and who mean it. Yeah, because like I told my dad that I wanted to get a jet, and he like laughed his heart out, and I was like, no, I mean it. Like I will have a jet.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
going to be allowed on it, but I'll have a jet. And I was like, this is amazing to just be able to think big and put the work behind it too.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
mean,
just wanting it.
you got to be able to call it. Like most things that will happen, if it's big, it's because you call it, and you have to be the first person to call it and believe it. And like, So I don't say believing it in a metaphorical way. It's not like, oh yeah, I gotta believe it. No, no, no. Like this has to be ingrained in you. It has to be part of you. Part. I try not to externalize it and say like it's part of your mission. That's like something that's out of you. That you're chasing. Like it has to be you. Like
Within.
I feel like I own it already, and it's just a matter of time. Like these people need to get the hell out of my way. You're right. Like get off my land. Pretty much.
Let's go.
That's the point, like, and of course in reality different things will happen, but you have to call it, right, to give yourself the best chance to actually achieve it and get it done.
I like that. I
Yeah.
like that. Well, Carl, thanks for your time.
Yeah,
Thanks for
yeah,
sharing
of
your
course.
story. If someone wants to reach out, get in touch with you or any of the business ventures that you have, what is the
Yeah.
best way they can contact you?
The main channel is Instagram, and it's my name, Carl Dumel, and my last name is spelled Dumesle. I know that you had a lot of opportunity to practice, but for the audience, it's Carl Dumel, Instagram, and from there you'll find everything about me.
Carl Dumel, Carl with a C. You'll still we'll have it in the description anyway.
Yep,
Again,
perfect.
thanks for your time, and until
Yeah,
next time.
yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.